Right. All right, thanks everybody for showing up today. We got our man, Dustin Brohm is joining us today from the Massive Agent Podcast, Massive Agent Society. And I don't know why I'm sitting here staring at Matt Weber's. I don't know why your screen is the one I'm seeing, but that's okay.
You want me to mute? Am I being too loud?
No, no, you're good. You're good. But anyway, Dustin, we appreciate you joining us today to talk all things social media. We're going to try to make this as practical and tactical as possible. So if anybody has questions, pop in and make sure to raise your hand, put them in the chat, fire away at any time. But Dustin, for those of people that may not know you, just give a brief introduction and then we'll just dive into things if that's all right.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Um, Now, you didn't tell me Matt Weber was going to be here, so it's a little bait and switch, but I'll get over it. Uh, Guys, I've been in real estate for 15 years, 15 or 16 years as an agent. Um, you know, the first, like, I'm not one of those agents that got success right away. Like it took me like 5 or 6 years to get to where I could like pay my bills as an agent, which causes all sorts of hell in your personal life when that's the case. But I was following someone else's playbook. My When I first got into real estate, I literally didn't know anything. Like, she was my fiance at the time, but my wife was like, this is like one of the first days that I went into the office after I got my license. She's like, "So how many houses did you sell today?" And I was like, it's weird. It actually doesn't work that way, apparently. At least not for me. I know for some agents that are selling, 1,000 homes a year. That wasn't me. And I learned pretty quick that I need to be able to get business for myself. And I had no idea how to do that. And so I was just looking at other agents in the office, a very small office, which was my broker and this other guy. And that other guy ended up being my mentor. And so the only thing I knew how to do was what he did. And he was a cold caller and a door knocker. And he would creepily approach people in the produce section of the grocery store. I shit you not. And who do you know that needs to buy or sell real estate? Absolutely traumatized by that whole thing at Smith's Food and Drug in Taylorsville, Utah. And the look on the lady's face who was weighing her cucumbers was absolutely mortified. That moment though was so pivotal for me because I'm like, I can't do this. Like if this is what agents do to get business, I can't do this shit. And but I didn't know what else to do. Out of desperation, one day I went to Google and I just searched how to get real estate leads, and it that was another pivotal moment where I learned about content marketing. I learned that if you write a blog post or do a YouTube video or social media content or something like that, you can actually have people come to you that want to hire you because you brought them some value, you taught them something, you seem fun to work with, all of the above. And I liked that concept. I'm like, well, that's interesting. That's a lot better than chasing people down and accosting them in the produce section or knocking on their door and scaring them half to death. None of that stuff aligned with me. Now look, it all works. Not the grocery store thing. That does not work. But door knocking, cold calling, all the traditional stuff works. It just wasn't who it's not who I am. And so I knew that there was an expiration date on that crap. If that's the stuff that I had to do, I was not long in this business. But luckily, I came across attraction marketing, content marketing. And through that, I learned that even if you create a great piece of content, you have to get people to know about it. So I learned about ads, I learned about social media and the algorithms and how all that works. And it, finally started to get busy and started to sell homes. And, the last 7 or 8 years, I've just been sharing what I'm doing marketing wise and lead gen wise and business building wise with other agents. So I'm at a point now where I haven't sold a house personally in 6 years on purpose. Um, because my business model allows me to just spend all day helping agents like yourselves to do better branding, to have better marketing, to lead gen, and to build an actual sustainable business that you're not having to pay for leads all the time. Like $1,500 each for a Zillow lead. Like there's very few people that can afford that, or that it even makes financial sense for in this industry. It makes sense for some, not for me. luckily, if you know how to use social media as the tool that it is, and you do things in a certain way, uh, with a good foundation of why you're doing it in the first place, you can attract a bunch of business to you that doesn't cost you anything but your time. And so, I'm just a big social media nerd, a marketing nerd, lead gen nerd, and I just happen to have a real estate license. So that's me.
So being a social media nerd, what's your favorite platform at the moment, or does it change week to week in today's algorithm world?
I like Instagram is my favorite by far. I mean, I certainly I you like YouTube is something I'm heavily committed to this year because I've been telling myself that I was going to do that for about 3 years, and finally I freaking did it this year. And I'm doing regular weekly YouTube content on top of my podcast episode. So I'm really liking YouTube and YouTube Shorts. I just love Instagram. TikTok's okay. I use it because it's like if I'm going to put something up on Instagram, I may as well put it on TikTok too. But I don't enjoy it in the same way I do Instagram. I do not like Facebook. I probably log in once a week. I miss everything. So like if somebody tags me or sends me a message, like I don't see shit. That's not a good thing, but I just don't enjoy Facebook at all. It's powerful, and some people do love Facebook. My whole point is, I think there's extreme power. Sorry, I have something in my eye. There's extreme power in just being honest about what you enjoy doing, and and then just do more of that. Because if you enjoy Instagram, for example, you're going to be able to just keep doing it long enough to see success. That's the key with all of this stuff. Like all of it works. Everything works and nothing doesn't. But you have to do it long enough and so you can keep getting better and progressing and learning and iterating and plus give it time to actually work. But if you don't like it, you're going to stop. You're going to quit because you don't like it. So I'm a big proponent, no matter what the platform is. If it's LinkedIn, if it's X, Snapchat, doesn't matter, or freaking Clubhouse, Matt Weber, lean into that because everything works.
So when somebody's starting to do Instagram or is currently doing Instagram, and I've seen your videos doing this, so it's kind of why I'm leading this. What is something basic that people overlook, maybe like their profile to get right? Um, what would you say a profile on Instagram should look like?
So, okay, so what it should look like. There's like a bare minimum that you've got to have, and that's the ability to be found in a search. And it's amazing how many agents don't have this, or they only have a part of it. So, on your profile, Clint, do you want to do like a screen share and just like pull up an Instagram profile and I can point this stuff out?
Yeah.
There's your handle, which is your username, then your account name, which is the big bold field, and you can stuff it full of a bunch of stuff. Those are the only two searchable fields in all of Instagram. And so if you are putting your name, your location, your occupation in the bio itself, which is fine, you can't be found. Like I have a lender friend here. We go to the same gym, and I'm like, dude, I cannot find your Instagram. And he's like, oh, I'll send you a message. So he sends me a message. It doesn't even say his name literally anywhere. It's like Utah Loan Guy. That's it. Utah Loan. I think that's it. Something along those lines. But if somebody searches his name, like his name is Dan, and I go to search his name, I couldn't find him. That's a problem. If I go to search like Utah real estate agent or Salt Lake City realtor or Decatur realtor, couldn't find him. So Clint Peters Real Estate at the top there is your username, your handle. That's searchable. So I love that Clint's name is there and real estate. That's perfect. Then Clint Peters, Decatur, Alabama, realtor. Name, location, occupation. Now you're found in the search. You can add more than that if you want in those two fields, but he's nailing name, location, and occupation, which is the bare minimum. Then below that is where you start to build some social proof. You make yourself interesting. You make yourself stand out a little bit. Like over 35 five-star Google reviews. That's a credibility boosting thing. You may think, well, who cares? Consumers do. And it's like, oh, he's got some Google reviews, some five-star reviews. Great. Credible. Knows what he's talking about. Knows what he's doing. So that's a good bio right there. The one recommendation that I'd make, Clint, after you expand that, yeah, hit that. There we go. Oh, good. I love that. So you have a link, but then you also tell people right above it why they should click it. Work. I think we could refine that a little bit. So instead of work with me, like maybe like what are they going to get if they click that, right? Because maybe they're not at the point where they want to work with you yet, but they just want to learn more about something. But still, this is better than most. The one suggestion is add an emoji on each line. It makes it more visually appealing. There's so much like really basic psychology stuff at play with social media. If somebody's looking at this and they just see a bunch of black text, it's boring to their eyes and they could just like glance past it. But Clint, pull up mine, for example,
Oh, I got to figure out how to do that. Okay, hold on.
on desktop.
On
Yeah.
the desktop, yeah, I know. And of course, it doesn't want to go very
But
fast.
just by putting an emoji in front of each line just makes it a little bit easier to look at and easier for people to digest because then they're like bullet points instead of a block of text. The bio doesn't need to be much more complicated than that.
Perfect. Somebody who's we'll keep using me as example, I guess, unless somebody else wants to volunteer. But
You
what
can
kind
roast
of,
me. Roast me, Justin. Roast me.
no, you're fine.
How about Katie or Roxy or Christine? Like if you guys want some feedback on your profiles, like I'm happy to do it. May as well.
Mine is
Uh,
probably physically painful for you.
well, let's work on it. Let's improve
Or
that, shall we, Katie?
do you really want to suffer through me figuring out the desktop version? We
I
can
got it.
try.
Well,
Hold
Clint
on.
can pull it up.
Let's see. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's good too.
So before we get to this, Katie, Roxy asked, does the emoji have to need to be in the front of the line or can it be on the in the back of the line? It doesn't matter.
I think it's better at the front, but I mean it's the same concept. It's the same concept. It's more if the emoji's in the front, it's more of like a bullet point. If the emojis are at the end, it's better than not having them for sure. So like I'm not mad at that. If you like having it at the end of the line and you like the way it looks, I'm not mad at that at all. I think that's great. Okay, so Katie, based on what I was saying earlier about the searchability, what would you change?
I was actually, when you asked for volunteers, I was looking up how to change my name to add the location
Okay, perfect.
and all sorts of other things that I need to add to it. But
Yes. But Alabama and Florida Gulf Coast Realtor, here's how I would look at it. So you've got Katie Ragland in your account name. That's perfect. You're going to just add to it some locations. It could be one or two. Think about like if somebody searches for your market, what are they searching for? Is it the name of a town? Is it a county? Is it an area like Gulf Coast? Like you know, agents that are in like the Melbourne, Florida area, the Space Coast. People actually search for Space Coast, so that's what they call it instead of the names of their town. Names of their towns. So think about that and then just add that plus real estate agent or realtor. And then if somebody searches for, you know, Florida Gulf Coast Realtor, they'll find it if it's in your account name. It doesn't have to
okay,
be any crazier than that.
I can do that.
I'm really liking that you guys are not tagging your brokerage. That makes me happy. Drives me out of my mind, actually, when I see agents tagging their brokerage. Why? Why does that bug me? Okay, well, think about it. If you can click a tag, right? Well, what happens if somebody's on your profile and they actually click your brokerage's profile.
Goes
They
away.
go to that, they go to the brokerage's page where they see a bunch of shit from other agents. That's not you. And they could get distracted and never come back. So I understand you need to disclose your brokerage, but you did it perfect with Real Broker. Boom. Disclosed. Done. Then you're not sending people into the arms of other agents potentially.
Oops.
Um, I would
Sorry.
also say
Let me go back to her.
that's a lot of links.
The link tree
It's a
or
lot,
just
yeah.
the before?
So you have 7 of them, right?
Yep.
I understand why you do. Think about this. When somebody lands on your account, they're probably not sitting in a padded room with no noise, no distractions. They're not sitting there like, okay, I'm ready to digest Katie's account for the next 30 minutes.
I'm not
They're
even ready
just
to digest my account for 30 minutes.
neither am I. But their dog's barking at them. Their kids are yapping. They're at a stoplight. They're in the middle of doing something. They're ADD brain's going like crazy. So if you give them too many options, they will do none of them. This is just a general thing in marketing. If you give people too many choices, they will do none of them. If you want people to do something, give them one thing to do, and way more people will do it. So if you have your link tree and then you can have multiple links in there, that's how I would accomplish what you're trying to do, Katie, is just
Okay,
like add
perfect.
some stuff to your link tree. But then if you just have one link and then right above it you add a line that says free homeowner resources or something like that with an arrow down, they're like, oh,
Okay,
I want that. Click. And
perfect.
that's their only option is that one link.
I like it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, what else, Clint? What else, guys? You're on mute, my friend. First time Zoomer.
Only been doing this 6 years. No big deal. Um,
Right.
as far as content goes, what do you see is working the best for agents right now?
Ooh, that's a good question. So in general, um, carousel posts are working really well. Carousel posts are really working well in I don't want to make it some reels still absolutely crush it. Some carousels crush it, and that's always been the case. But right now, carousels are getting more traction, and they're performing better for most people. And reels tend to be underperforming. You should still do both. But as far as like content styles, the more authentic it is, the better. It still needs to meet a minimum level of quality. Like you still have to be clearly seen and clearly heard. It can't be one of these diabolically recorded videos where there's like some bright window behind you and you're just a black silhouette. Like that can't happen. Even though it's authentic, it's dog shit. So don't do that. But just turn and face the window. And if you just jump into delivering a message, that's good. So authentic is good. Over edited, polished, fancy stuff, expensive lighting, expensive cameras, all this stuff, not necessary. Your phone is fine. What you're delivering is super important too. While people do crave the authenticity, they also have less patience for waiting. So if there's a message you want to deliver, jump right in. Just start giving the thing and get really good about hooking people in the beginning. And this takes practice, and we can spend some time on this. But learning how to package up the topics of your videos. Like if you're trying to teach a certain thing, it also needs to be entertaining. It's not enough anymore to just be educational because if I told you, watch this educational video, what are you thinking? That sounds boring. That sounds like school. Nobody wants just an educational video. Now that they would love to watch something that's educational and entertaining. And entertaining doesn't mean you have to dance around and do a bunch of goofy shit. It just means it has to be framed in an interesting way with some personality. So, like at a foundation, that's what's working really well right now is stuff that's interesting, it has personality, it gets straight to the point, it delivers something helpful or interesting or um, like value means something different to everybody. Sometimes it's humor, sometimes it's education, sometimes it's just an interesting factoid, sometimes it's something visually appealing. Like, have you ever watched one of those videos where people are like cutting sand? What is that? Well, it's satisfying. Like there's value means something different to everybody. There's so many different ways to do it. We just we tend to overthink that. All content creators do. So yeah, those are some of the minimum and foundational things that really help. Yeah, but yeah, we can spend some time on the hooks. But what do you think, Clint? Follow up questions on that.
Um, I would say, I guess my question is sort of a follow-up question to that. Is there such a thing, especially on Instagram, of doing too many different types of content? Like for myself, I do some educational stuff. I do the newsreel um, posts that everybody talks about for local area news, listing videos,
Is that where you have the three
carousel.
different
Yeah,
sections?
correct. Yeah.
And
Carousel
that
posts.
outperforms, doesn't it?
Um, I'm gonna be honest, and this is another question we can talk about later too. My Instagram sucks. But I believe it's because my Instagram is probably 90% realtors versus the public. Um, so we can have a different discussion. We'll pin that and we'll come back. But yeah, it does.
Let's come back to it because I'll tell you what, that is not a problem.
Yeah. Um, but anyway, so I guess is the mix of content that you're doing important? I guess that's the nailed down version of what I'm trying to.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a really good question. Yes, you can overdo it, but using different formats of content is necessary, right? If like there was a time, this was probably what, like 2022, 23, talking head videos was like all that I ever did because that's what worked. Like you just get in front of a camera and you just blah, 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 blah. And it worked, but it just got beat. Like it was the dead horse that people just get beating, you know? I apologize, it's a little graphic. Um, it just got overdone. And so like talking head videos, like I don't even do anymore, really. Or if I do, I figure out a way to deliver the message in an interesting way or a unique way, or like with a whiteboard where you write stuff on it or whatever. So things change. Variety is good. If you do too much variety, which by the way, you're nowhere near. Okay, like you would have to do so much variety where people are like, what the hell is this account even about? That's where it's the problem. But if it's just different visual styles or formats that's meant for one particular audience, that is a very good thing because all those different styles and formats are different ways of grabbing attention. Like a green screen video, if you have an article behind you and you're talking about the new splash pad that just got announced, in Cedar Park, and you're like, hey, there's a new splash pad, and the article says blah blah blah. Those outperform because when it pops up into your feed, you are superimposed on top of something behind you, and people are naturally curious, what is that person going to say about that thing? So the visual format itself is somewhat of a hook. And that style you do, Clint, where you've got like the three different images and you're green screened on top, that seems to work. That there's something really engaging and attention grabbing about that format in general. But yeah, I think it's better to have variety than just one thing, unless you've so when you do a bunch of variety, you start to see what works and what doesn't. And then once you see what works, it just start doing more of that. And because there's some creators that they do a bunch of different stuff, they figure out one format or like a series that they do, and then they just keep doing that. And then they become eventually known for that thing. But it starts by testing and playing around and doing different stuff and giving some variety. So yeah, variety in general is absolutely a good thing as long as it's all targeted towards your ideal audience. which means this is where so many agents screw up. Like, I'm going to be super tactical today, but the tactics might look different than what you think. Like, sure, I could recommend an app or a new AI program that's great for copywriting or whatever. Like, I'll give you that stuff. But if your foundation's messed up, none of it's going to work. You have to know exactly who your ideal audience is. And then every time you go to post something, post it for them. When you do that, it, when you do that, you start to attract the right people because every time you post something, it's relevant to it. Maybe it's just a resident of Huntsville, Alabama. Maybe that's your audience, just a resident of Huntsville. Everything you post is something happening in Huntsville. That's highly relevant content for that audience. So you're going to attract a bunch of people who are residents of Huntsville. Or you could even be more specific, homeowners, property owners in Huntsville, and you put out stuff that's relevant to property owners. And I mean, and you could do both. So, I mean, is that helpful? Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And you kind of used the phrase a couple of times that I want to dive into a little bit. The phrase, it worked. So this is such a subjective term, and I think agents get
That's right.
so worked up about if social media is working and what that actually means. So give us your definition of what a successful social media account does.
Does it generate conversations with buyers and sellers? And are you seeing improvement? Like when you post something that does well, you know it does well because it performs better than the other stuff, right? I don't think you need to overthink it any more than that. Like I dive into all the analytics and retention, like the retention graph on posts and stuff like that. You don't need to do that. Like maybe you get to a certain point where you want to, but I'm a full-time content creator, so I can do that. You know when stuff works, whether like, holy crap, this is getting a lot of views, this is getting a lot of comments, there's a lot of people sharing this. I've had a lot of people message me talking about that piece of content, or I've had a lot of people, it's just generated a lot of conversations. So is it showing a meaningful improvement in the social media metrics? Because all of that leads to eventually more conversations. The whole goal is conversations and closings, not to just have 100,000 followers. Who wants 100,000 followers just to have 100,000 followers? It's what 100,000 followers will do for you is what you want. So yeah,
No, I think that's a great, I know, I think a lot of agents think my social media is not working because I'm not getting DMs for, hey, come list me or come show me this house. I know with my content, I don't get necessarily a whole lot of DMs or, comments necessarily on the video itself, but walking around town, running into people, I've had numerous people tell me all the time of, hey, I see your videos all the time. Thank you for doing the newsreel style videos. Let me know what's going on. I've even had agents tell me, I didn't know what's going on in town until I started watching your videos. So, I mean, to me, that's would be success where most agents don't necessarily think of it that way because it's not leading to
exactly.
business.
Exactly right, man. I mean, that's it. And here's what's funny. If you use social media regularly and you put stuff out there, like, well, there's only a few people here, so raise your hand if you would. If you've ever been out at the store or like at your kid's school or like a high school reunion or something, and you run into somebody that you know, and they're like, "Hey, I see you're doing this. Hey, I noticed this. I see you're in real estate. I see blah blah blah." And they know something about your life that you did not personally one-on-one share with them. That means people are watching, even though you don't realize they're watching, because the vast majority of people are lurkers. The vast majority of people are not commenting, they're not messaging, they're not even hitting like, but they see that shit. And a lot of times that's enough. Like, how many of you guys love getting referrals? Love getting referrals. Okay. Being consistent in showing up on social is one of the best ways to cultivate and generate more referrals. Why? Because the people that already know you get reminded that you exist and what you do for a living over and over and over and over. It's not enough that they know you're an agent and a good one today. They need to know about it tomorrow and next week and next month because people forget, right? Like if I were to say, "Hey, I need a plumber, Clint. Who's your best plumber?" And you may know, but you may be like, I need to think about that for a minute because nobody's top of mind because you don't have a bunch of plumbers in your feed. But if you did have a bunch of plumbers in your feed, the one that you notice the most, they'd probably come to mind right then and there. So when somebody asks your network, "Hey, I need to sell my house, or we just got a job transfer and we have to move to Florida. Do you know any good agents?" If you're like, if you've been showing up in their newsfeed over and over and over and over and over, much more likely they're going to be like, "Yep, you need to talk to Katie." So social media content, there's so many benefits from it. Some of them are indirect and hard to measure, but referrals absolutely are a byproduct of showing up on social, not just you posting stuff all the time, but you commenting on other people's stuff. My friend Chelsea Pites says this: comments are content. And it's so true. We beat ourselves up so often, myself included. Like, I got to do a new video, I got to do new content, I got to do new stuff, blah, blah, blah. I got to put stuff out. And we forget the power of just going and watching someone else's story and replying to it. Going and looking at someone else's Facebook post and commenting, "That vacation looks amazing. What was your favorite part?" Or, "We're going there next year. Have any restaurant recommendations?" Those are all meaningful impressions as well, because then again, they're reminded that you exist. And if they know you, they connect you with what you do for a living. If they don't know you, or they're just like an acquaintance from social and you have no idea how you met them, they're like, "Wait, who's that Clint guy again?" They click on your profile. "Oh, he's a Decatur realtor with 35 five-star Google reviews."
So, I mean, that's also a great way. I think that's kind of the way I'd use. I don't necessarily comment all the time. I do, but at the same time, if I see somebody's vacation, something, photos or conversation, then I'll shoot them a text and be like, "Hey, I saw your Instagram post about your vacation. We're headed there next year. Tell me about blah, blah, blah." So I think that's something that
Brilliant.
we don't think to do either, is utilize, let other people know that you're following them as well. Um, so we got away from the
That's brilliant because then you stand out because they may get 15 comments on their post,
yeah.
but they're only getting one text.
And then
That's
we
smart.
kind of got away from the hook side of reels and everything. So let
Let's
me
get
ask you
hooky.
this. Um, should a carousel post or something like that have a hook? Should like that first screen photo basically be the hook for that post?
Every piece of content that you do needs to hook attention.
There you go.
It's just going to look different depending on what we're talking about. So if it's an image, does the image grab attention by itself? Like if let's say you're posting photos of a listing. Why the hell are we always putting the front of the house as the main photo? Usually, for most agents that sell average homes, the front of the house is not very awesome. It's not really that visually appealing. I am aware there's some MLSs that require the front of the house be the main photo. Okay, but it doesn't mean it has to be in all of your marketing. What is the most interesting part about that listing? Maybe it has nothing to do with the house itself, but its proximity to a Whole Foods, or there's a Trader Joe's within a 4-minute walk, or a train station, a splash pad, a playground, or the view off the back deck over the lake when the sun is setting. So, like, what is the most interesting thing about the listing? Highlight that. That needs to be the first image. That needs to be the first thing mentioned in the description. That needs to be talked about more. Like, I sold this house. It was it a townhouse? No, it was a single family house. They had one of the biggest master bedrooms I've ever seen. Like it was almost ridiculous. It's like, what do you put in this space? Um, But all I focused on with that listing was possibly the biggest master bedroom you'll ever see. That's all I focused on. The biggest master bedroom you've ever seen. And for people who are looking for a place and they want some space in their bedroom, they're like, oh, I should probably look at that. So it just, that's how you get your stuff to stand out more, is by focusing on what stands out. And the same is true with carousel posts. The first two slides are crucial. Carousel, I don't know if you guys know this about carousel posts. You actually get a second at bat with carousels. So when you post a carousel and it shows up in somebody's feed, the first slide shows up first. If they don't really consume that post that much and they just kind of skip past it, later on, that same post is going to show up in their feed, but the second slide is going to show up. So the first two slides are key. I'll just say this in general. The beginning of your content is everything. Because if you don't grab their attention in the beginning, they're not going to watch. They're not going to listen. They're not going to read it. Same thing with a podcast episode. Same thing with a YouTube video, a blog article, a Facebook post that's text, an image, a video. The beginning is everything, which is why it drives me so out of my mind when I see agents introducing themselves. Why are you wasting the most valuable real estate of the video to introduce yourself? Like, the first 1 to 3 seconds of a video is huge. If you don't grab somebody's attention, they just scroll to the next video. You could have spent $10,000 on a listing video, but if it starts out boring, no one ever sees it. So you have to obsess to a certain extent over the beginning, the verbiage you use, creating curiosity to keep people swiping or watching. That it takes practice. It's kind of an art, but here's an example. If you wanted to teach people about FHA loans, the worst thing you could do, okay, I'm going to do like the worst, and then I'll do this. The worst is like, hey, it's Katie with Real Broker, and today I'm going to tell you about FHA loans. So you wasted the first couple seconds introducing yourself. Then you told them, I'm going to talk about FHA loans. Who the hell wants to know about FHA loans? Literally 0 people want a mortgage. No one wants a mortgage. What they want is the house. They want a new neighborhood. They want to upgrade their lifestyle. They want more space. They want more room for their family. They want a backyard. They want a garage so that they don't have to scrape ice off their car. That's what they want. The mortgage is just the vehicle that gets them the house. I think it's Alex Hormozy that says this, that in marketing, you've got to stop selling the flight and start selling Maui. And when you learn how to frame it the right way and you focus on Maui instead of the flight, because nobody wants to take a 6-hour flight to Maui. For you guys, it'd probably be far further. Like, those flights suck. But Maui's awesome. So in a real estate context, instead of, hey, it's Katie with Real, and today I'm going to tell you about FHA loans, you can still educate people on FHA loans, but what do FHA loans do for people? What is the result that they get? Well, they can get into a house for much less out of pocket, can't they? Right? With a 3.5% down payment. So instead of, I'm going to talk about FHA loans, or today I'm going to teach you about the FHA loan and 3.5% down, you say, here's how to buy $1 million home for $35K. I don't care who you are, that's going to grab your attention. Like, how do you buy $1 million house for $35K? Even if you call bullshit, you're still going to keep watching or swiping because you're like, I got to hear this. And then you go on to explain that with an FHA loan, it's just 3.5% down. So out of pocket is $35K on $1 million home. So that reframing is everything. And you can do that in text on your carousels. You can do that with what you say in your videos. But once you start practicing that, there's this messy middle where you overthink everything and everything sounds shitty. You are making progress still, because it's much better than this post is about X topic. No. The hook is meant to get someone interested and curious enough to then hear about the topic or to actually consume the lesson that you have. You've got to hook their attention somehow. So, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways to do this. Um, I will give you guys, I have a whole list in a Google Doc of like 100 something hooks that you can use that work for any topic. So, Clint, I'm going to find that while you ask some follow-up questions.
Okay. Um, I would say I guess my follow-up question would be, are there certain creators you would say to go watch and learn how they're hooking? I can think of one in particular, Neil Dingra. Um,
Definitely.
I actually, when I use AI to do video scripts, sometimes I'll actually tell it or ask it to put a Neil Dingra style hook at the front, and it knows exactly what to do. Is there anybody else besides like Neil that you would recommend does a really good job with the hook up front?
That's a great question. Paige Steckling does. Sometimes it's visual. Um, so Utah Real Estate Page does. Because, guys, the hook is not always what you say, it's also what people see. Um, this is where I said like there's some really basic psychology stuff at play that we overlook, and and you don't need to read too much into it, but think about it. If you're scrolling and there's a static image, there's just a photo, it's probably not going to get your attention unless it's like a really like vibrant colors or super like incredible landscape or like one of those up close nature photos of like a bison in the snow or whatever, right? That you're like, holy crap, that's amazing. But if you're scrolling and something's moving, it grabs your attention a little bit more. So videos tend to perform better than static images because it moves a little bit. It grabs attention. Um, man, see, this is one of those things. You asked me who's good at hooks, and I'm like, I know a trillion people that are good at hooks. So yeah, definitely Neil. Neil does a good job of being top of mind, not just for you, but for me. So I mean, something he's doing is makes him top of mind. Shane Bergman does a good job. He does a lot of he does skits and funny stuff. Not always funny, but he's really thoughtful about his content. Chris Benjamin. Sometimes they're really ridiculous visual hooks, but it always keeps you watching. Like you know if someone's done a good job if you find yourself you're like, why am I even watching this? If you catch, we've all done that. You're like, why am I watching this? And you're like 45 seconds in, it hooked your attention. Um, Here, let me open my Instagram and tell you.
While
I
you're doing
oh,
that, um, go
here's
ahead.
a dude. Here's a dude that does a so Brock Johnson. He's an Instagram guy. Brock 11 Johnson. If you are into Instagram, absolutely follow Brock. He does a great job. There's this dude. He's a fitness. He coaches fitness trainers, but he's a big social media guy. His name is Brian Mark, real Brian Mark. He has he has one of those personalities that not everybody likes, but he's really good with hooks and grabbing attention. Um, Shane Bergman. Let's see. Who do you guys like?
I made a custom GPT that just does the story brand style,
Nice.
and it works really well. And I'll just do like the you know, at hook, and then it automatically like pops up.
So, guys, I've been experimenting for the last week with a new AI tool called Manus that I had a few other content creators recommend it, and my first thought was, I need another AI tool like I need a hole in the head because I'm already using Gemini and Grok and Chat and what the hell else? I forget. See, but specifically, they said it's really good for copywriting, for helping you write content scripts, for emails, for YouTube, stuff like that. And I've known for a while that ChatGPT for me has just, even though I train it and I'm like, hey, take this style, analyze it, and let's use that format for my stuff, it's still missing certain things. And so I'm like, all right, let's see if Manus is any better. And I tried it. I'm only using the free version. The paid version just gives you more credits. Um, I'm blown away. Like for content, it makes ChatGPT look like a drooling idiot. So I've been super impressed with Manus. So if you guys want, I can give you I think it's like a referral link that gives you 500 extra credits, but I'm just using the free version. If I haven't run out of credits yet, and if I do, I'll probably pay for it. But it's been helping me write my YouTube scripts. It's been giving me ideas, better ideas for short form content. And when it gives the answer, like when I say, hey, I need a script for this, here's the topics I want to hit, here's the points I want to make, blah, blah, blah. And I want it to be 30 seconds or less. When it gives me the script, it then tells me why it's putting certain things in certain places, and it's really thoughtful and intelligent. It's like, okay, you obviously understand what works in content. And so yeah, Manus has been really, really cool.
All right, we're getting close to wrapping this up here for too long, but I want to get a couple of selfish questions in.
Please do.
Since listings are sitting a little longer and well, coming off the holidays, I've actually got a listing coming back on the market here for too long. Um, and we've already done some social media around it, videos around it. Is it okay to repost those videos again when we go back on the market?
I'm a huge fan of reposting good content.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And when you say
Overt.
reposting, are you talking about just so everybody's crystal clear on this, hitting the repost button or actually creating a new post with the same material?
Yes,
Okay.
both. Yeah. So on Instagram specifically, the repost feature is fairly new. Like I think it's like what 6 months or 8 months old or something like that. So I mean it's fairly new. Um, I I don't have a ton of personal data on this. I've just heard other creators who claim to have data say that like yeah, repost your stuff every once in a while. Like not right away, but maybe a week or two later, like repost stuff. I'm a big fan of going back and reposting the content that you think is good. Not necessarily only the stuff that performed well. The stuff that performed well, absolutely go and repost that shit. Like actually repost it again, not just the button. Um, like I've had a couple viral videos this last year that I've probably posted 4 or 5 times now. The Andy Elliott one that's in the top the top left of my profile, it's ridiculous. But I think I posted that 5 times, and every time it does numbers. Every time. So when you find a post that is doing better than others, absolutely repost it again. Like actually repost it. 30 days later, like 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, maybe 2 months later. It depends. Depends on how much content you're putting out in the meantime. But yes, absolutely do that. And when you do, it's like I usually just put the exact same video out because it's like that's what worked before. I don't want to mess with it. Change the caption, or maybe you uh, put different subtitles on it, like you caption it differently, but like the actual post, change that up a little bit so that it's not literally the same in every way, but the content itself you don't want to mess with because that's what showed to be performing well. Yeah, big fan of that. And even the stuff that didn't do so well, but you think should have, repost it. I mean, I've seen this quite a bit. Um, this is one of the, I guess this is one of the benefits of posting on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. I automatically, even though I hate Facebook, I post on Reels because it automatically goes there. I get to see how like something that just bombs on Instagram blows up on YouTube Shorts. Something that blows up on Instagram might absolutely like get 9 views on TikTok. Like this happened to me a couple weeks ago. I posted something that did okay on Instagram. I had 9 views on TikTok. Eh, but then I've had stuff just absolutely blow up on TikTok that bombed somewhere else. So that's the difference between the platforms. But it also shows that like timing is a factor as well. Sometimes when you post something, it just didn't stand out from all the other stuff that was posted around that time, right? Because every time you post something, it's competing with all the other stuff in the feed at that moment. But maybe 3 weeks from now, it might perform better and get more of a chance and do better and reach more people. I don't know. So if you think it was good stuff, repost it again.
Great. Before I transition to a non-social media question, Katie, anybody else have a question for Dustin before we transition to something else?
I can't think of one. It'll probably come to me about an hour after we get off of here. But I do appreciate the feedback very much. I've already made some of those changes.
Awesome. I love it. And it's all going to help. It's all helpful.
I'm a work in progress on Instagram for sure.
Hey, we all are.
All right, so non-social media question here.
Yes, sir.
Katie is in charge of a Further Together event in South Alabama at the beach here in, what, 3 weeks? So you've spoken at a couple of those. Any advice to Katie on how to make a great event?
Yes, because
Thanks, Brad.
I've spoken at a couple. I'm speaking at the Phoenix one on March 4th. Um, and then I hosted the one in Salt Lake during the first round. You've got to constantly and incessantly invite people.
It is physically painful. Yeah, we are just messaging people like mad.
The so here's what I've learned, not just from doing Further Together, but like Neil Dinger is a friend of mine, and so he teaches me some stuff about his events. He sells out these 1,000-person rooms for these giant events, and he has for like 4 or 5 years in a row. Every single year, he still has to personally reach out to people and personally invite them one to one. And if you're willing to do that, and by the way, Katie, get other agents in the area to do the same thing.
But yeah.
Instead of just posting something and hoping people click the link and buy a ticket, reach out and personally invite them. Because remember, people are busy, they're distracted, they may not ever even see it to begin with. Like it blows my mind. When I did Further Together, I thought that I was blasting it everywhere. I was doing a bunch of content on social. I was running ads even. I don't recommend that. I just lit money on fire, I think. But I I was really surprised with how many people afterwards were like, "How come you didn't tell me? Like I didn't know about this." I'm like, where the hell were you? Like what rock have you been under? Well, their life. That's what rock they were under. Their
Yeah.
life. Not everybody sees all of your stuff, which is why reposting is so important. But with this, the personal invitation where you literally send them a voice text, "Hey, I don't know if you know this, but we're doing an event. There's going to be this person talking about this person talking about this. We still have some tickets left. I just wanted to make sure that you knew about it and were personally invited." You send, 20 of those a day between now and then, you'll have a packed house.
Yeah, Katie,
Okay, good.
one thing when I did it in Atlanta, one thing that worked really well is I went to Dustin's profile and I could see who else of my friends followed Dustin. And then I
Uh,
sent them a message and I was like, hey, and I kind of dwelled on Dustin. If they didn't follow Dustin and they followed Ed Stulak, I would be like, hey, Ed Stulak, he's going to be here, blah, 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 along with Dustin. And that
Oh,
worked really
that's such a
well.
good idea.
Yeah.
I like
that's
it. Yeah.
smart.
Yeah.
Did you hear
Thank
that,
you,
Clint?
Clint.
Dustin said I was smart.
I'm glad you let him in, Clint. I mean, I was telling you the whole time he should have been here. So I'm glad he made it.
Yeah,
I
like
have
George Costanza, I'm out.
Yep, that's right. Go
That's
out
right.
on top.
But well, Dustin, we appreciate you joining us. Means a lot to me to come. This is kind of something we're trying to start doing each month. We actually have somebody lined up for next March, March 11th. Neil Mathweg's going to jump on with us and
The
talk,
Neil Mathweg?
Neil Mathweg, and talk about his building a business you love with his 3 pillars. So can't wait for that. So that'll be March 11th. Don't have a time yet, but hope people can join us for that as well. And man, we appreciate you, Dustin. Hope to see you soon.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you
Glad to
very
do it.
much.
You're welcome. Good to meet you guys.
All right.
Thank
Everybody have a good
you.
day. Thank you.